Hello everyone, my name is Nick. Welcome back to Shining Brighter. And before I get going on today's topic, it's such a beautiful day out. I just kind of wanted to share the view of where I am today. I don't know how well you can see the color in the trees out there, but it's calm, it's peaceful, leaves are all turning, and it's just nice being here. So what I want to talk about today, it's about signs and recognizing them. And of course you all know that I mean, signs from the universe, signs from God, signs from loved ones that have passed. And some of us see them quite readily. Some of us struggle. And I have been one of the people that has struggled with it. And a lot of it had to do with my mindset. Being too grounded in reality, too closed-minded to the possibilities. Not that I didn't want to see, because I certainly did, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't. But I think it's something that comes with shadow work and growth and maturity, and opening your mind up to the possibilities of the world. And it's often difficult, especially in times, hard times or sad times, frustrating times, whatever your case may be, when you're struggling to make sense or come to grips with whatever is got you down. Maybe somebody passed, or you broke up, or you get passed over for a promotion. Could really be anything, and it's different for everyone. But in those times, we often ask for someone, whether it be God or a past relative, or even just the universe or spirit, or wherever you turn to. We ask for a sign that it's going to be okay, that the pain and the sadness or the struggle are going to end, and that good things are coming. I will tell you that in my experience, and again, this is just my experience. This doesn't mean this is how it works for everybody. I'm just trying to share what I've learned and how I've come to the place that I'm at. It really wasn't happening for me until I started doing that shadow work, that difficult work, to really figure out, why I was struggling, why I was hurting, why things seemed to always be going in a negative way for me. And a lot of that had to do with my own perceptions, my own acceptances, my misunderstanding of my value and my worth, and quite honestly, not having self-respect. And there's a lot of reasons for all of that. And ultimately, I'm not going to sit here and blame anybody for a lot of that, or blame anybody for any of it, really, because, it comes down to the individual doing the work, taking a good hard look at themselves, seeing their own shortcomings, their own insecurities, their own weaknesses, what they have allowed, why they've allowed it, and then, quite honestly, the hardest part of all of it, forgiveness. And the most important part of that forgiveness is forgiving yourself. And you should absolutely come to a place where you can do that. Because once you can forgive yourself, then you can really start healing. And when I was finally able to do that, I rebounded very quickly, and I'm still going through it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not there 100%, but I am 100 times better than I was 2 years ago when, my shadow work began. So I have asked for signs. Oftentimes I call upon my dad. He passed in 2012, well before his time. And I figured if somebody's gonna give me that sign and be honest with me, it would be him. I've also asked God, I've also asked the universe, other people that have passed, and especially when my dad passed, my brother and sister kept telling me that they were getting messages from my dad, and I wasn't. And my sister finally came and said to me, Dad wants you to know that he's been trying like hell to get through to you, but you're just not open to it. And from what I'm told, it takes people on the other side a lot of energy to come through, so it's not something they can do all the time. So I am grateful that he tried to get through my stubborn head. But then you have to recognize the signs when they do come. And it doesn't always work like saying, hey, if you can hear me, have a crow fly by. It doesn't always work that way. They'll do what they can to get the message to you, to show you, and it's up to you in many cases to recognize it. So recently, as a good example, I was in the shower and I was listening to a podcast, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Pandora turned on, and the first song it played was Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. And then the next song it played was Have You Ever Seen the Rain, CCR. And the last song that played was I Feel Fine by the Beatles. And then I got a spam phone call, and then the phone just shut off. I absolutely recognize that as a sign, because the songs were just, they were all different genres, all different eras, all different artists, but they were all pertinent to what I was dealing with at the time, and I got the message loud and clear. Another example, when my kids were younger, and this was a few years after my dad had passed, and this was one of the few times early on that I did recognize a sign, and it was only because I would have had to be the dumbest person in the world not to recognize it, because it was like getting hit in the head with a sledgehammer. I was coming down to my living room, and the disc for one of my games was on the floor, and the girls were there. And I said, hey girls, I don't mind if you guys play games, but make sure you put them back. And they said, we didn't do that. And I said, okay, whatever. And I put it back in its case. I'm sorry, it wasn't in a case, but I put it back up on top of cases for other games, laid flat, and I closed the door to the entertainment center, which had a glass door. So I went down the hall to grab something, and I came back, and the game is sitting up against the glass inside the entertainment center on this little tiny ridge of the wood frame. And I said, girls, didn't I just tell you, not to leave the discs out like that? And they said, we didn't do it. And they were both sitting on the couch. And at the time, my wife said, they haven't got off the couch at all. They didn't touch anything. So I thought, okay. So I thought it might be my dad because it was a game that he loved to play. And I went out to my car and I got in and I turned the radio on and I was listening to a song and I said, all right, Dad. I said, I'm thinking that's you. If you are here, pick the next song on the radio so I know it's you. So as soon as the song ended, all of a sudden a radio promotion came on, and I'd never heard it before and I've never heard it again. And it was two guys talking. One guy says, so what do you think of heaven so far? And the other guy says, it's great. It's really nice here, but man, it's so bright. I should have worn my sunglasses. And I instantly started laughing because my dad was never without his sunglasses. They were either on his head or, wearing them. And it hadn't been that long since he passed. So clearly that was my dad saying hi. And I appreciated that very much. So what it really comes down to, guys, is you have to be open to the idea. You have to be willing to believe, have faith, and see it for what it is. Not everything you see is going to be a sign, so don't try to make one out of nothing. But if something happens that catches you and seems odd, pretty good chance that that's a sign that you're supposed to see. And I got to tell you, when you do get that sign, for me anyway, it goes a long way in picking my spirits up, keeping me happy, helping me stay positive and helping me stay on track. So I'm definitely much more open to them. I am grateful for everyone that I get. I'm not going to sit here and say I get them every day, because I don't, but it happens, and I'm grateful when it does. But it's only because I did all that work, and it's only because I have faith, and it's only because I'm willing to see it for what it is, instead of just brushing it off or having a closed mind. So if you're looking for a sign, you can ask for it. And you can try and ask for something that, maybe specific to you and that person, or something that you need from the universe. And it may not come through exactly the way you asked for it. But if it seems odd, that's probably that person answering you. So, as always, know your value, know your worth, respect yourself, and I do truly see you all for who you really are, and I do love you for it. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon.